did 70 of the 100 Pitchfork, according to them, best album list. It was confusing, disappointing, delightful at times, surprisingly. I'm still taking very personally that I'm not on it. Even though I understand a little better now when I look at the caliber of people they did choose. I mean, it's a lot of major label stuff with big fat decades long impact. So I can't be too mad at it, but I do like my rap music the most, and Pitchfork, they claim to like mine, so I'm going to feel some type of way that I wasn't included. Now that's just my personal feelings, and like I was saying on Wednesday, I'm just trying to be more honest about that. That's all. I don't want to tuck my feelings down just because they might be emotionally immature at times. There are parts of me that are emotionally immature. God damn it, that's okay. God damn it, that's okay. Anyway, let's get back into it. Yeah, good golly miss. I definitely intend. Pope John Paul Van Dam put a list in the Discord. 100 essential underground albums from, I think the website is Hip Hop Golden Age. So I do intend to check that out as well. As he was saying in the Discord, they actually post their criteria. And I just looked at the cover of the list, but I was like, oh, these are a bunch of interesting choices. And also open to any how the Morning Gang, as Jessica says here in the chat, a poll within the Morning Gang and see that list. I wouldn't know necessarily how to create that on their own, on our own. I know in the Discord we also have, was it Music League? I'm not sure if there's a way to do album lists off of that type of stuff, but I'd love to see what the Morning Gang comes up with as well. So we're on number 29. Project Pat, Mr. Don't Play, Everything's Working. As I said in our last sit down with this list, that Memphis music, and I do, yeah, he's from Memphis. He's a 3-6 Mafia affiliate. A lot of this music made it up to me and was in my world, but I didn't really sit and listen to a lot of these albums, so I couldn't tell you what's on here. I bet whatever the big single is probably something I know, but I could not tell you exactly what was on here or not. I do know Project Pat was very influential, and the songs were very huge, and they were in the miasma of my life. But I can't say I have any familiarity with this project. Certainly not mad at him being included on the list, though. Project Pat was very, very important in that Memphis music and the creation of trap music that became the genre that took over hip hop and really still has a stranglehold on it today. 28 is Jay-Z's The Blueprint. This album was really huge, and I thought when it came out, it was really good. I think Kanye's production around that time with the chipmunk soul really sort of revitalized what Jay-Z was doing. There was a lot of sameness, and especially in New York hip hop around that time on the mainstream level, because a lot of folks was using the Swiss beats stuff. You know, like DMX was mostly Swiss beats and the Locks and all of them. So there was a lot of real big chunky keyboard music happening at the time for the beats, and then Kanye came in with the soul stuff. Plus, Just Blaze was really killing it around that time with sample-based production as well. And his sample-based production had like the synth layer to it that was really dope. And these singles are really huge. It's a huge record. And yeah, and as they say here in this entry as well, this project is also notable because of the beef with Jay-Z and Nas and how that was really taken to another level with the song The Takeover on here too. So they were like, this album had a lot going for it. Jay-Z probably at the peak of his popularity, Kanye's sound, Just Blaze's sound, the public interest and narrative around the beef with Nas. This is a really, really huge record, and I haven't really sat and listened to it in years. But it was really good. I remember it being really good. I may be surprised that it's not a little higher, except for the fact that all of our data with this list so far seems to reflect that the numbering is just pure chaos. The numbering is just straight pure chaos. 27's Kanye West Yeezus. I have never liked this record. This is the one with Bound 2 on it, I think. I like that song. I think Blood on the Leaves was cool. Other than that, I never liked this album at all. I was never into it. I remember thinking it sounded like somebody was banging on a bunch of pots and pans for the beats. Like, this just was not, it didn't appeal to me. It didn't appeal to me at all. I really liked My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and I wanted things to go more in that direction. You know, and Yeezus is like one of those kind of projects where, like, I can see the importance of it, but it never had the appeal to me. It never had the appeal to me. You know, and I'll say this for it too. One thing that I could always appreciate about Kanye, especially at that time, is that his huge releases, his big budget, giant, mainstream record industry tentpole releases were always very fucking weird. And in a genre that always seemed to shy away from weird, I was always appreciative of the way that he pushed things forward in that sense. But this was just one of those projects where the music just did not hit for me personally. Oh shit. Wow. This numbering is crazy. Black on both sides. Not prepared. I was not prepared for Jay-Z. So the Blueprint, and then Yeezus, and then Black on both sides. That is some chaotic numbering. Chaotic. Classic album and a classic run, because he had just dropped Black Star with Kweli, I think 98, and then this in 99. God, this album was so unexpectedly huge. Like, I remember at one point, so this came out in 99, by 2000, maybe 2001, I already decided I'd never want to hear Miss Fat Booty ever again. It went from being like, oh, the good song that would come on at the hip hop parties I would go to that was mostly shit I didn't like, and then this would come on and be like, oh, this one's for me. And then a year into that, I was like, I never want to fucking hear this song ever again. And it's not that it's not good. It was just wildly overplayed in my world. Wildly overplayed. Like, oh my God. Yeah. That was one of those ones. It's just like it hit the limit for me fairly quickly in how much it got played. This is an album that, for me, as much as we loved seeing somebody like, this is raucous records, like, this is the underground, this is the fucking real head shit right here, right? Like, this was the music that was reflective of, like, our b-boy lifestyle at the time. So as much as it was great, like, New World Water is my shit, Got is my shit, Mathematics, that beat, that DJ Premier beat, crazy. Diamond D got crazy beats on here too. This album came out at a really particularly dark time in my life, so I don't actually revisit it much, because, like, there's an emotional resonance to it that makes me feel like utter shit. But it's just because I was in a terrible situation at that time, and this album was like the soundtrack of that. Even though that was one of the bright spots, I can't help but associate it with a dark time. But yeah, it was huge. Miss Fat Booty was everywhere. Umi Says was in, like, Nike commercials. That shit was crazy at the time to see how much reach this album had. Jazz Jackhammer says, I dug Speed Law and the one with Busta. I hated that song with Busta Rhymes. I hated that song so much. That was the one I didn't like, because that was the one that had one of them little farty beats. I didn't like that shit at all. To me, that was like sometimes cats in the underground would try to make the mainstream sounding rap song at the time, and to me that one was just a complete miss. I did not like that song at all. Um, Album's a classic though, undeniably. Album is a straight classic. Okay. Oh, Earl Sweatshirt 25, some rap songs. Wow, really high. This is high. Shout out to Earl. Shout out to Earl all day. But damn, that's high. That is, this run is crazy right now. Blueprint, Yeezus, Black on Both Sides, some rap songs. Very, very curious. Very, very curious. That is okay. I mean, this is a great album. I remember digging it at the time. Like, there's a new era of, I mean, you can't even call it underground now, but like the Earl style and you know, Mike and, you know, Navy Blue and Mavi. Raiders, what up? What up? Welcome Raiders. Welcome Raiders. I was talking my shit, so I didn't even see y'all coming in. Foreign Fridays. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going through the Pitchfork 100 Best Album list. And we are on number 25, which is some rap songs. But as I was saying, all those people who I named right now who are like, you know, very established creative forces in rap right now, I feel like there's like a lot of that style that they have embraced and developed. To me, mentally, it goes back to this album. Like, or at least I'll say that was the first time I heard that type of style was on this album. So it felt important in that sense. Like, it sort of turned the corner. Like, I remember when Earl first came out in the Odd Future days, it was a very like the flow was super dope. Like, Earl was my favorite by far out of Odd Future. The flow was very multi-heavy, punchliney, like post Eminem, post Doom, and I fucked with it. But then like it started to get real weird around here. That's why I like this cover too. This cover sort of represents how like left field the sound got right at that point. And I remember bumping it and fucking with it, but I didn't sit with it a lot because the songs were just very unorthodox in a way. And I think it blazed the path towards a new style, but it wasn't one I was ready to completely wrap my head around at that point. NWA 24. Okay. I was a little kid when this album came out, and I used to spend a lot of summers here in LA. My pops has lived here my whole life. So I grew up in Chicago. I'd spend summers out here in LA. And like, damn, you saw this album change everything. Like, you saw it happen out here. Like, you saw it, like, it was sort of reflecting in one sense, like the way people were moving and dressing out here. But then it also sort of magnified it in a way and amplified it too. So then it like sort of created this machine where, damn, like this was what was happening in LA street culture at the time. Gosh, one of my earliest memories, I was in first grade, and this was actually in Chicago. I was in first grade, and like, people often romanticize, oh, when you were in school, people would be, you know, beating on the table and rapping. Like, the first time I ever heard anybody doing that, it was some kids who was like maybe one grade older than me, and they was beating on the table doing the drums to Express Yourself from NWA. And I remember being really confused by that too, because I think I ended up like seeing the video for the song later that day, and I didn't understand how rap groups worked really at that time. I was getting introduced to a lot of this, so I was like, well, why is this guy rapping in it? Because that song was just Dr. Dre, but then they had other songs where it was Ice Cube and other songs where it was Eazy-E. And I was like, I just didn't understand how this shit worked at all. And this reminds me too, as some of you all may know, the first rap music I ever heard in my life was Eazy-E's, is it Easy Does It? Is this his solo album is Easy Does It? my mother was playing this when she picked me up from school one day when I was a boy of 7 or 8, whatever year that was, and that shit blew my fucking mind. Especially because Eazy-E's voice, he sounded like a cartoon character, but he was saying the craziest shit I ever heard in my life. Like, and I remember sitting in the passenger seat in the car, like halfway side-eyeing my mama, like, am I supposed to be hearing this? Like, I want to laugh, but if I laugh, I'm acknowledging that I'm listening to this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be. I don't feel licensed to ask questions about the things he's talking about. He's talking about robbing a bank and taking a woman's clothes off, and then she has a penis. That's the end of the story. I'm like, what the fuck? What is happening here? So this entire original music movement was mind blowing to me as a child, and yeah, fuck, it's goddamn NWA. Fucking NWA. And then we, what they would go on to do in the different ways, the creatives would splinter, like the battle with Ice Cube and NWA was like, that was crazy to me too. And like, cause like, was it like 2 years after this, Ice Cube is out of the group and dissing them like in the craziest ways. Yeah, it was wild. NWA, straight out of Compton. Fuck. I think everything on the list now is going to fuck my head up. I think everything on the list from here on out is going to fuck my head up. Slick Rick, see, yeah, this is another one. 88. I always loved this album. I heard this album when I was a little kid, and his voice was always so musical, and his storytelling was so fucking lush. It leaps out at me again now, especially after talking about the shit I was hearing on Eazy-E. There's some incredibly inappropriate, like, what is it, adult story on here? Because that was the song I used to listen to the most, was Adult Story on here. And that shit is fucked up. That shit is so fucked up. It's a whole fucking song about Slick Rick and some Indian chief's daughter. It is fucked up in every way you could imagine. But when I was a little kid, all this shit was so intriguing to me. And that's one side of it. But even as an adult, like if you take away all of just the wild shit, the musicality of this album is very dope too. I forgot the name of the producer because we were talking about him during the Houdini entry. I forget his name, but he was doing a lot of the early Def Jam stuff. His shit was so fucking musical. Hey Young World. Fuck, I can't remember all of them. But the shit was incredibly musical for the time. Damn, I wish I could remember that. Larry Smith, thank you. I think it is Larry Smith. I think Larry Smith was doing a lot of these too. But this is incredible music. And this is coming off of him doing The Show and shit with Dougie Fresh, Lottie Dottie and all. Like, yo, Slick Rick is crazy. I was saying before this year, I was saying that Slick Rick is one of the all-time greats because he is one of the few rappers who started rapping at this time who I felt always actively developed his style through the ages. The album he put out in was it 99, 2000 was great. Like his feature on the Mos Def song with Madlib Auditorium is a fucking all-timer. I wish that the album that he put out this year was done differently. I really do wish that the album that he put out this year was done differently because it fucked up how I think of him a little bit. But Slick Rick is a goddamn legend. Goodie Mob Soul Food. Now, the Who's That Peeping Through My Window song, I forgot what that song is called. Cell Therapy. That song, it was one of them songs where it's like, oh, you heard that beat and you heard that sound and then the music video and like it just felt like such a new perspective and image in hip hop because you had Outkast who was kind of doing like a slick thing at the time. They were still kind of players ball and all of that. But you still had the musicality from the Dungeon family. And then you had Goodie Mob, and they were like almost scary. Like not like horrorcore, not even like Bone Thugs, but like there was a fucking darkness to it, especially like around Cell Therapy was like, oh shit, this is fucking interesting. I never really sat with the album much. I heard it a few times, but at that time, like I was very, very New York centric, Chicago underground centric, like Common Sense, All Natural, and even, you know, the LA stuff I was listening to at this time was like Alcoholics and Razzcast and shit. Like just I was always with the Lyrical Miracle shit. So I didn't really gravitate towards what the South was doing at that time too much. But I know this was a huge record, and I did like the single Soul Food. I thought was really dope too. Yes, rest in peace Rico Wade for sure, because Dungeon Family is fucking undefeated. Like that, you know, we were talking about Larry Smith musicianship. The next iteration on that really was what, like the musicianship that Dungeon Family was bringing to these huge big budget releases, where like, you know, you had songs that were playing in the club, but just had crazy musicianship on it. Just crazy musicianship. Like, and that extended all the way into, you know, Outkast and the big cast of characters that was all through Dungeon Family. Sleepy Brown, yep. All right. Ready to Die. Ready to Die is a classic album that I will admit to you all again, I never really gave a shit about. As much as I just spoke about how much I was New York and all of that, I never liked this album. This album was always fucking depressing to me. And it's similar to how I feel about what I'm sure is also coming up, the Infamous. Like, I like the Infamous a little better because to me the sprinkles of Q-Tip production gave it a little jazz, like a little bit of uplift that I could fuck with. But damn, this fucking big album was dreary as fuck to me. Like I had it, I owned it. It felt like essential listening at the time, so I was like, okay, and I tried to get into it, but I did not like it. I liked Warning, I liked Unbelievable, because I always liked Biggie over Primo, and I think Biggie as an MC is underrated, even for how well he's talked about. I think that there's some shit, like when I really started rapping and understanding flow, like Big is crazy. Like the way Big used to swing his cadence in the most effortless sounding fashion was nuts. But just the darkness of a lot of the production on here, it just wasn't it wasn't the vibe I was trying to hang out with. You know, it wasn't really for me. But I think, you know, Big was incredible. I think Big was more incredible than we even understand. But you know, that's just my opinion. If you enjoy it, it's not, you know, I ain't mad at you. And plenty of people did. And I think that this album is important also in the sense of making it a reality where a very credible street rapper could also make songs that were like huge in the club. And I can say from where I sat when I saw other really dope rappers that had street credibility trying to emulate that, to terrible results. Oh God, some of the weird R&B rap experiments on street rap in the 90s when people were trying to do a big deal. Oh God, some of that shit was so ass. Oh. And so I guess to some degree, as well as Big was able to straddle those two worlds, which created the space for Jay-Z to be able to do the same, and for Drake when he came out and, you know, and figured all his shit out to be able to do the same. I don't love that this was the template, because I didn't like what it was. I didn't like the direction that it took things, especially with like underground rappers trying to have like a whole album full of things that you could tell they thought were dope, but also try to have a song for the ladies who and the ladies weren't gonna hear it. Like it was only us dusty ass dudes who were ever gonna hear it. Like you were gonna make that video, they might play it on Rap City once, like it's just that was a flawed sort of pathway that A&Rs and the labels were trying to encourage these street rappers that they signed to do this blueprint, and this blueprint didn't work for everybody. Certainly fucking worked for Big though. It certainly worked for Big. Oh shit! Give me my motherfucking Balloon Mind State. The Prince Paul masterpiece. This is a Prince Paul production masterpiece. If you've heard my interviews with him for What Had Happened was, gosh, you get to hear about the stories of putting this album together. Like, there's a lot of jazz infused hip hop, but I don't think it was ever done to the degree that it was done here. With the JBs, James Brown's band. And that's the thing too. Like it wasn't just jazz. These were like jazz funk musicians. And so like you had those elements that people always sampled James Brown records for to make hip hop. But with the live musicianship and the horn section, like there's an entire just instrumental song on here that will fucking float your body out into the sky when you listen to it. Like it's just completely something else. And it was the peak of like De La Soul's very insular weirdness, where like the bars are filled with non sequiturs and references that they weren't really willing to explain to anybody. Like there's this eye patch thing that happens all throughout this album that I'm not sure ever gets explained. But I always thought that this album was just the peak of a creativity from them that combined like Prince Paul's ultimate creativity and when they were feeling like their most insular and confident. I mean, I used to always think for years that this was my favorite De La Soul album. When all of their albums went back to streaming or finally came to streaming, I actually think De La Soul is Dead is better just in terms of an overall executed concept. Like that album just works on so many layers. And then Stakes is High is just a whole nother kind of achievement where they part ways with Prince Paul and sort of established the sound with Jay Dilla, self-produced stuff, and then going into the Super Dave West era. Like they start to establish what like the new sort of native tongues pocket of rappers that still existed on a major label would even sound like. Like they were like the beacon of the acts that were still signed, like them and Busta Rhymes and really like and Tribe. And I feel like they did so much to establish that sound with Stakes is High that like that's a whole nother achievement. Like De La, like that run, 3 Feet High, De La Soul is Dead, Balloon Mind State, Stakes is High. Just I don't know if there's a better 4-album run from anybody, especially given that all of these albums did different things. But Balloon Mind State is sort of uniquely, it's a beautiful work. It's a beautiful work, and I'm glad to see it included on something like this. Wu-Tang, because I don't think we'd had any Wu-Tang. We didn't have any solo. Did we have any Wu-Tang solo on the list so far? Which was sort of fucking surprising too. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Y'all right. Liquid Swords. We did have Liquid Swords. So that's interesting. So we've only had one solo Wu-Tang album. And here at number 19, we have, the one that started it all. It's just still just an amazing fucking story, right? Like if you look at RZA when he was Prince Rakim and see how Tommy Boy tried to make that happen but didn't really get it at all, and Jizza and Words from the Genius and Come Through Me, and to be able to take that experience of working in a music industry that tends to just chew people up and shit them out, but rather than just tuck tail or just fucking give it up or just go straight into street hustling, They took the knowledge that they had, built, like, this is an art project. Like, this entire thing is like, oh, I'm going to assemble 9 of the dopest motherfuckers anybody ever heard, who all rap completely different from each other, and we're gonna wrap it in this aesthetic that we all love, which was these kung fu movies. And that had a resonance for a whole generation of people, because so many people in the similar circumstances, them in a similar age range as them, had also grew up fucking with these movies, but then they wrapped their entire persona in it. Like, and it made it unassailable. Like, I think one of the greatest lessons that RZA learned was that you can't come into these situations with these record labels as an unfinished product, because then you have to get so lucky in them figuring out what to do with you and executing it correctly. But they did the genius thing of, we'll create it all ourselves, bring it to the labels, and with the knowledge of how the deals work. Oh yeah, we'll sign the Wu-Tang with you, Loud Records, because you're hip and you're interesting and you got money and you're trying to get a foothold in this industry and you get what we're doing. But we're only going to do that if you allow the individual members to sign deals other places, right? And in rap, that just was unheard of. So then you're able to get Method Man with a Def Jam, Dirty with Elektra, Dex Sound, Priority, I can't remember, or Virgin, I think is where Dex signed. And it was just unheard of, and it was genius. And RZA had to convince these dudes to follow his lead. I don't know how he was able to do that, because all these dudes are fucking maniacs. And then all of this, you can take everything I said and throw it out of the window if RZA's production was not so fucking special. It wouldn't have worked without his production. It wouldn't have worked. I was just on tour when I was on tour with Fanagram, I was driving solo and I was listening to just a lot of old albums, and I put on a bunch of the Wu stuff, and especially because the beats on Into the Wu-Tang are great, and even though they're dusty, they're a breath of fresh air in terms of like all of the James Brown sampling and shit that was going on at the time. This felt completely different. But when he fucking hit his stride with that first wave of solo releases, fucking Cuban Linx, Iron Man, Liquid Swords, like, these beats are fucking otherworldly. Like, there's like nobody else was doing it like him. And if you listen to a lot of these beats, the approaches and the choices that he's making on paper, they don't even fucking make sense. That's another thing. If you hear me talk to Prince Paul about working with RZA and the Gravediggers, like, Prince Paul was always just marveling about how, like, everything RZA did was fucking sloppy, but it was brilliant. Like, on paper, none of that shit made sense at all. But the rawness of it and his sense of rhythm and the crazy, like, ways he would work bass in the shit and chop up drums and chop up samples, like, none of this shit would have worked if his production wasn't what it was. Eric B. and Rakim, paid in full. So it's funny, when I hear early Eric B. and Rakim now, what strikes me more than anything is that you can hear, I feel like I can hear how much Large Professor was involved in probably getting his beats taken or getting his credit taken. So many of those horn samples sounds like stuff that Large Professor would go on to do in his solo work in the Main Source and shit. But then it's also, I think for a lot of people, it's hard to understand how much Rakim changed rap. Like, it's really difficult. Like, even when I was little and hearing it, I didn't necessarily get it then. And I didn't love it when I was young, because it just always sounded so cold and technical. And then I didn't hear like songs like Mahogany till way later anyway, that did have a little bit of a warmer sound. But rap pre-Rakim, pre Big Daddy Kane, pre Cool G Rap, and then post Rakim, it's a completely different ball game. I always think about Cool Keith on Critical Beatdown that song is not called Ultramagnetic MCs, is it? MC is Ultramagnetic, magnetic. How he says, they use the simple back and forth, the same old rhythm that the baby could pick up and join right with him. And because what Cool Keith is talking about is the old style. And so when you hear Busy Bee, when you hear Run DMC, even Cool Mo D, who was like advanced for his time, but when you put it next to a Rakim and hear how intricately Rakim is like bending and twisting bars, and when he comes in and how it's all just fucking conversational and easy sounding, but it's like science. It's fucking rap science. Ego Trip. Thank you, Urkel Modi. You can hear how much Rakim changed fucking everything. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, our numbering here is strange. Our numbering here is the biggest mystery of all of this. But this is an album whose impact was fucking undeniable. I'd love to hear more about the production because, gosh, everything on here sounds like fucking Large Professor to me. And Paul C. And I know there were a lot of producers involved who weren't getting their credit. Oh shit! Wow. Doomsday. Okay. So y'all know how I feel about Doom. Y'all see it as a mask. There's a mask right there. There's a Doom mask right there. I think people generally understand how big of a influence on me he was. From hearing the first singles off of this in 1997 that just fucked my head up. I used to fall asleep taping college rap radio and then wake up because it would be late at night. Like the Wednesday show was like 9 to midnight. I could catch most of that. And then the Saturday show was like midnight to 2 in the morning. And the Friday show was late like that too. So I'd be listening and then I'd put a tape on record and fall asleep and then wake up and see what I got before the tape stopped. And twice on those tapes. One was Dead Bent, the single version, because this was like 97, 2 years before the album came out. And then it was Greenbacks. And I was like, what the fuck is this? It didn't sound like nothing else. The fucking drunken charisma and punchlines, the vocals, the recording sounded strange and low quality, but I loved the rawness of it and the way he was flipping these samples like it's Isaac Hayes shit, but like it sounded so fucking epic and dark and strange. This shit fucked my head up. And I had been a fan since 97. The album version would come out when I was in college. A lot of those singles were re-recorded and changed. So I don't hear songs like Hey until I get the album. What's the other one? Blow, blow, blow. Gas Draws. I'll tell you this though, because this is another album I played when I was on tour by myself a couple weeks ago. I like the back half of this album a lot better than the first half. I'll have to confess to you all, Morning Gang. All of my favorite songs on this album are like after the midpoint. I'll see if I can pull up the track list. It was a hard realization for me. Okay, because Doomsday is great. Rhymes Like Dimes. I did not appreciate this song for many years. I thought this beat was annoying for many years. And I know this is a lot of people's favorite shit, but this beat used to annoy the shit out of me for years. But I have an appreciation for it now. The Finest, I didn't love. I like the sample flip, but I didn't necessarily love this song. Go With The Flow. I don't remember which one's Go With The Flow. Okay, it's dope. Okay, that's dope. Tick Tick is dope because of the way the beat slowed down and sped up. I'm a Robot Stabber. Thanks for the submarine. Who You Think I Am is cool. I like some of the Monster Island songs, but not all of them. I thought the song was kind of a mess. Now, here's where it really kicks off to me. Because I think Hey is amazing. Hey is like, that's one of them ones. Like, you hear that fucking Scooby-Doo bass, I'm like, what the fuck? Just in there automatically. Greenbacks is my shit. The mic, I don't love it like some people do, but it's dope. Dead Bent, all-timer. Gas Draws, all-timer. Question Mark might be my favorite shit on the album. Question Mark is a song I go back to all the time. The fucking emotion in this song. When he's talking about Sub Rock and Curious is talking about K-Nit and the back and like this, it's like a back and forth MC routine shit, but there's this fucking sadness to it, and the beat is beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. So like, these is all my shits. Hey, Greenbacks, Dead Bent, Gas Draws, Question Mark. This is my shit. The early ones is not my favorites. It's not my favorites. And, you know, legendary release, but I did have to come to terms with that recently. I did have to come to terms with that. Boom, 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 boom. Rest in peace, Doom. Shout out to Doom forever. And yeah, that video is cold too, where he you know, got his head in his hands on the bench. He got the ball spot showing. Like, come on, man. All timer. Okay. Oh shit. Okay. This is like, I feel like I'm in a boxing match with this list. And they were giving me like, you know, these soft shots to the body. They was almost starting to feel good. Like, oh, okay, this is like, all right, you know, we just sparring, right? And I let my guard down, and it punched me right in the fucking face. God damn it. I don't even know how to, like, yo, you got me thinking about Doom. Now you want me thinking about Dirty Sprite 2? Ay. Okay, let me try to. Is this the one with Molly Percocet? Is this that one? Is this that one? Oh my God. It's not? Oh fuck. Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't know. Like I have no, I maybe don't know anything about this album. And I'm no expert, right? I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm a fucking rapper. I've been rapping for a long time. I've been listening to hip hop for a long time. But really just through my particular taste, I am not an overall rap expert. I was lulled into a sense of competency from the last, I'd say 6 entries on this list though, to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, we're good. We're comfortable. I don't know anything about this project. This is a huge blind spot for me. Oh, wait a minute though. I will say this. I remember when I first heard Future, the first few times I heard Future, and mind you, this is also the first time I'm ever really hearing like a rapper that's like auto-tuned forward like that. And this is, this is after Jay-Z did Death of Auto-Tune. He was trying to get rid of it. People were marking that like it was some kind of fucking victory against technology in the studio. So Future was a lot, because Future was like all auto-tune. Like I didn't know what Future's voice sounded like for years, and I didn't get it. But I will tell you all, there have been a couple times in my life where I've been in gentlemen's establishments, where people are entertaining by taking their clothes off and dancing to music. And I heard a Future song in that environment, and I got it. I did get it. And that might have been around this time. So I will say that sometimes you can find yourself in a situation where things click for you in a way that they hadn't before. And that was one of them. Now, I couldn't tell you what album, what project, even what song. But I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is what it's for. And then that made sense. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. Back on track here. Back on track with things that I feel very fucking familiar with. That's so wrong, Vader Laugh. Why is that so wrong? I feel like Future would probably tell you that that's the appropriate venue for understanding the music. So I don't know why it'd be so wrong for me to say. But Raekwon only built for Cuban links just goes right with the conversation that we were having about Wu-Tang. And the beats on here, like Ray is dope. Ray's writing is crazy. I still like can get new things out of Ray's writing all the time in much similar ways that I get new appreciation for Ghostface lyrics a lot. And this is really Ghost's coming out party as well. He's on damn near every song here. But these beats were nuts. These beats are nuts. A beat like Ice Water, verbal intercourse. Like that beat shouldn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense that you would loop the part of a soul song where a lady's just talking, where a lady's just talking, and then put drums over that and make a fucking brilliant rap song. It doesn't even make sense. But yeah, the production on this album's out of control. I'm gonna pull up the track list. If Guillotine's crazy. Yeah, Knuckleheads. Rainy Days is nuts. Guillotine's nuts. Ice Water. Glaciers of Ice. I used to I have another confession to make, Morning Gang. I used to call a service called the Video Music Jukebox on my landline on the south side of Chicago in the year 1996, and I used to order the video to Glaciers of Ice because it would blow my fucking mind. And I used to get very scared when the phone bill came. Luckily, I was never thrashed and crucified for it, but I used to order this video a lot because this fucking video was amazing. Okay. Now, if you're watching a YouTube video, I'm all sweaty and you don't know why, and I'm not even going to tell you. Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. So this is the only group with 2 entries, right? It's the only one. Because Fear of a Black Planet, I think, was earlier. I think this is the only one. And like I was saying then too, and I almost feel a little embarrassed to say, but it is true for me that these are albums that I went back to and listened to when I became like a super fan of hip hop around like 94. And because when I was like, yo, because I heard NWA in 88. I heard Slick Rick in 88, but I was a little kid. And so like my ways into things were like the silliness of Slick Rick's children's story, or, the fact that like I was in LA and like, so NWA was in the environment. Plus there was a bunch of silly shit on them NWA albums too. Public Enemy used to scare me when I was little. Like the fucking formations and the soldiers, the S1Ws and shit. And the first Public Enemy song that I really heard, like watching videos, a Public Enemy song comes on. It was 911 Is a Joke, which is Flavor Flav by himself. And that was silly. And I loved that, but that was very confusing. That didn't go with the Soldier Dudes, as far as I knew. And then Fight the Power, though. Fight the Power I liked a lot. But I think that was that was after these. That was like 91 when Fight the Power came out. So I went back and heard Fear of a Black Planet. Went back and heard It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Incredible albums, especially with that Bomb Squad production. But I get confused on which song was on which album because I never really sat and like oh, I'm just gonna listen to this album over and over again for weeks for either of these. Um, One thing that always strikes me about him though is, I represent the heady side of rap music. I've always gravitated towards the heady side of rap music, the jazzy side of rap music, the thoughtful side, whatever the fuck, right? And that's not, I'm not putting a value judgment. I'm just saying like that's where my values always lied. One thing that's very clear when you listen to Public Enemy, as political as they were, and still are, because they put out an album this year that's hard, as thoughtful as they are, one thing that they always held very true to was that hip hop is party music. There was always a driving beat to their shit. Like they never let it get too far away from music that would move your body. And I feel like that was so important to how they were able to make this fucking work. And to some degree it's like a notion that I think a lot of people on my side of the spectrum forget about. Like, yeah, it's headphone music. Yeah, it's, it's a conversation, it's thought provoking. But the foundations of hip hop is DJs in a party moving your body. And I always felt like they were the best at making it heady, making it conversational, making it controversial, but never losing sight of that. Oh shit. God damn it, here we go. The low end motherfucking theory. God, where do you even begin on an album like this? I mean, I am a child of the native tongues. Like when I was young, when I grew up, I wanted to be in the native tongues. De La Soul, Tribe, Jungle Brothers, Busta, Queen Latifah, Moni Love. This was like the most important movement in hip hop to me. And I can remember very clearly when I was a little kid seeing the video to Scenario, Tribe and Leaders of the New School. I think Spike Lee did that video, and it was the old school computer interface overlays and all these different cuts. It was like you were watching a video being edited, but that was the video. Fucking Busta Rhymes killing that shit. The Arsenio performance, it all seemed very huge. And you had Jazz as a single, Bugging Out. But when I really got into hip hop, like I said, it's like 94. And I'm going back and I'm making sure I'm sitting with all of the Native Tongues releases. Like, this album is fucking beautiful. Butter, that's the Phife solo joint, and I love that it established this pattern of Phife always having a solo joint. Rest in peace, Phife. On the rest of the albums from that point forward, Verses from the Abstract, like that's a fucking beautiful song. I had a dream last night about my man, and my man came to the studio, and then the fucking Ron Carter playing the bass live, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, doom, and fucking Vinia Mojica, one of the unsung voices of the entire movement. Vinia Mojica was so fucking dope. Yeah, you got it going on. Is it an R&B song? Oh my God. Like this was like the perfect vibe for me. The way that they were sampling things. I remember at the place I first started rapping, there's a place called Promontory Point in Chicago. This had to be 96 or 97. They had a party there once. And at the party they had a band, like a kind of funk band that was playing riffs, and MCs would get on the riffs. And one of the first things they did, was silent, and then the bass player went boom 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 boom. It was like, oh fuck, like goosebumps even just thinking about that shit. And this is another album. We were just talking about the RZA and the way he sampled. There's fucking brilliant sampling by Q-Tip on this album. Like some of the like French 70s electro shit he was coming up with on here. Like just crazy, and just how much he was able to get out of those upright fucking bass samples like that, like knowing he was aiming for that, calling the album the low end theory, focusing in on the bass and then big old kick drums and shit, and still creating some shit. It's like dirty, dusty, banging, and fucking beautiful. It's fucking beautiful work. Like all time classic, top 10 album of all time for me, you know, fucking rapper otherwise. Just all timer. Yeah, fucking Gary Bartz. The Gary Bartz sample is crazy. That's the sample for the hook for the song Butter, the Fife solo joint. You know I like it when you say play it sexy for me. That Q-Tip is a genius. Q-Tip does not nearly get enough love as he deserved. I think he's a legendary producer who is somehow still underrated. Wow, this is really high. This is really high. See, it's hard. It's hard. Like, as much as I think this album's incredible, and now you got two Kendrick albums on here. My favorite Kendrick album is "To Pimp a Butterfly," which was already covered later in the list. Like this album changed the world. It's super fucking dope, but goddamn, you know, I think if now we're putting it in the context of Cuban Linx and putting it in the context of low end theory and all of that, and I'm sure for some people younger than me, this will be that for them, but it's not that for me. Fantastic record though, fucking fantastic album. But it's rough to get me from thinking about you know, rap music that changed my life to this, which is rap music. Like I said, it probably changed somebody else's life. But my favorite Kendrick album is "To Pimp a Butterfly." This one's dope though. Actually, I don't go back to it as much as I thought I would. I think Kendrick's writing is so much better after this, and it's not that the writing on here is bad at all. I think the writing on this album in many places is a little like it's like a young adult. He was a young adult, but it's like a young adult. And I think later he would get so much deeper and so much more conversational and take his ideas so much further than this. But it's fucking great. It is fucking great. I just prefer "To Pimp a Butterfly" personally. Notorious B.I.G. Life After Death, the second Notorious B.I.G. album. This is one of those classic 1990s double albums that probably shouldn't have been a double album. It's definitely got some songs on it that are amazing, but there's probably just too many of them. The one that the song on here that I love the most by far was "Kick in the Door." "Kick in the Door" is just from Premier sampling fucking screaming Jay Hawkins like that and turning it into like I would have never in a million years heard screaming Jay Hawkins, "I'll put a spell on you," and think that it should be looped and have that sort of drum put over it. And the way Biggie talked his shit on that song, god damn, like that song's a fucking triumph. But again, I think a lot of albums from this time, a lot of these double records, it's just too much. It's just too much. And I know plenty of you all understand the business reasoning why they were doing that, is that at that time, if you sold a double album, every sale counted for 2 albums. So it was easy. It was much faster to get to platinum or double platinum because every purchase counted for 2 purchases, basically. But I think that trend, and you know, you look at the Tupac double album, you look at the Wu-Tang double album, all of them, like it just resulted in projects where there's just too much, just a little bit too much. So I don't know that this one wasn't the one for me because of the fluff, especially in '97. There was just so much more potent music out at that time. So this one never really did it for me. Whoa, Madvillainy. Okay, 2 Doom entries, 2 Doom, two Biggie, two Kendrick, two Public Enemy. Wow. I mean, look. I've told the story a few times. In 2004 was when I moved to LA, and I drove to LA from Illinois after filling out financial aid forms to do summer school in college, and then getting my refund check, buying a 97 Nissan Altima, and just driving out of town, and said fuck that whole semester. In that car stereo, though, there was an aftermarket. I mean, in that car, there was an aftermarket stereo. And the way that stereo behaved was that if the car heated up from normal driving, you wouldn't be able to get a CD in or out of the CD player. So what that meant was I had to wake up in the morning, and it took me 2.5 days to drive from Illinois to California. I had to decide what CD that I basically wanted to hear the entire day, because once the car was hot, I wasn't able to get a CD out of it. So there was two albums that I leaned on in my 2.5 day trip. They Might Be Giants, The Spine, and Madvillainy. So like I have a relationship to those two albums that's like beyond anything else. Just the depth to which I spent very intense emotional solo time listening to those albums and those albums only. Both of those records fucking live in me. I mean, everything on here is crazy, from the opening skit, the bistro on the water. The song on here, I forget the name of it, where Doom is rapping as Victor Vaughn, who's mad because his girl cheated on him with Doom. I'll repeat. Doom is rapping as Victor Vaughn, another one, Fancy Clown, thank you. Rapping as another one of his personas who's mad at his girlfriend because his girlfriend cheated on him with his other persona. Like, what is fucking happening? Great Day was always my shit too. I don't know, something about Great Day. Like when Madlib would get into his Yesterday's New Quintet style and doing these lush fucking jazz arrangements, and then the way Doom sounded rapping over that, like his bars were just so potent to me. Whoa, put yourself in your own shoes and stay away from all the busted hymns he don't use. Like, I don't know. Pick 'em, select a date, bring a deep check like checkmate. Doom in 97 sounded really drunk, raw, and depressed. Doom in 2004 sounded so revitalized and sharp. It was so sharp. Every verse on this album is so sharp and conversational. And in Madlib's beautiful chaos of doing all of that sampling on the, was it the SP? I think he made all of this on was it a 404? I think he made all this on one of those rolling machines, right? That he made all of this on. And the Zappa samples and shit. Like, it's just one of those all-time meeting of two creative dudes, two creative entities. I don't want to call it Madlib's peak, because I think that he will go on to refine his sound way more. But they really got together at a fucking perfect time for Doom, because Doom's 2004 was crazy. Madvillain, Food, and Victor Vaughn all in the same year was just a nutty level of output. Absolutely fucking nutty level of output. And it's one of the greatest albums of all time. SP303? Okay, cool. Outkast, Aquemini. It's a great record. I spent time earlier talking about how the South, a lot of the shit, I was late to it, or I didn't connect to it when it came out. This was my freshman year of college, and we wore this fucking album out. This is one of them albums that like brought all the black people on campus together. We was all, no matter if you was from Chicago, if you was from St. Louis, you was from Nashville, if you was from Houston, everybody on campus was playing this fucking album. Like, Spotty Otti Dopalicious. Like, yo, you could put that on at the party with the fucking No Limit and the Cash Money shit. And then everybody was fucking happy. Like, everybody was fucking with it. Everybody was fucking with it. Like, they used to call us haters on campus a lot. Me and the B-boy, dirty, dusty, dreadlock dude contingent, the hip hoppers. But this was like one of them, because we didn't like a lot of shit. But this is one of them projects that we all could fucking agree on. The rap was insane. The production was insane. Huge singles. Like, it's just one of them ones. It's just one of them ones. Fucking perfect album. Clipse this high, huh? Clipse this high. High Clipse. Fuck. It was really high, Pitchfork. This is really high. This is and this is the second album. My goodness. I mean, Gangsta Lean is on here, right? I always like that song. Oh, it's the third album? Jesus Christmas. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I cannot say I've ever actually sat and listened to this. It makes me feel bad to say that I have not listened to what Pitchfork says is the 8th best rap album of all time. Okay. Oh, this Mr. Me Too. Oh, Mr. Me Too is a good song. That was this? Okay, yeah. Mr. Me Too is a great song. Okay. Well, maybe I owe it to myself to go back and revisit this one. Wow, Miseducation. This is okay. This album is no doubt a triumph. This, I always like, it fucks with me when I think about this and I think about Andre's half of The Love Below. Like, just these already very impressive, technically capable, charismatic, wonderful rappers making these albums that are just so musically appealing across all boundaries of genre. Like, there's a magic to both of those projects, like specifically The Love Below and The Miseducation. And it feels like some strange, unrepeatable alchemy. Like, in one of those two, you feel like somebody would have had the perfect formula, yet somehow they were never fucking repeated again. Lauryn never repeated this again. Andre never repeated that again. But it seemed like something was being broken through. Now, I'll say for this one, and maybe even equally for The Love Below, I think it's hard to call this just a straight hip-hop record. She's a hip-hop artist. I think it's hard to call this a straight rap album. It's also R&B. It's also soul. You know, like fucking That Thing. That's like a pop song. Like, I have a hard time calling this best rap album, but it is a fucking incredible work. The skits with the kids in the classroom, and all of that shit in the like every song on here fucking bangs. And it's all got heart, and it's all got brains. It's all got soul. It's all got, the beats got ass. Like everything is beautiful on here. Gosh, and I haven't really sat and listened to it in a minute. I used to, like, this came out in 98. I'd say like 99, maybe even into 2000. I was playing it all the time, and I feel like there's songs at the end that I feel like I'd want to go back to at some point specifically, but I don't remember the running order. Tell him with that fucking beat on the desk drum. Everything is everything. Nothing Even Matters was hard. Yeah. When it hurts so bad. Yeah, X Factor. Yeah, incredible songs. I feel like there's still some story to be told about how this album was put together. But absolutely incredible work. I shudder to call it, or I'm reluctant to call it a straight rap album. Rich Gang, sick. What is this here? What is this? What is happening? What's happening? What is this? Rich Gang the Tour Part 1. This is number 6. This is we got Lauryn Hill and Clipse. Oh, okay. But Outkast and Madvillainy and Life After Death, and then we get to number 6, and it's a Rich Gang the Tour. So I don't know anything about this, not a thing. But my guess would be that this is the song that the album that Lifestyle is on. Is this the album that Lifestyle is on? It's got to be, right? That's the only thing I know about it. Like, and now I'm using context clues, so I guess we're talking about Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan. I wouldn't have known that. I don't know who the fuck Rich Gang is. I've never seen this album cover in my life. I am confounded by this placement. Confounded. Things were almost making sense. And here we are. I'm more confused than anything else. And whereas the Clipse album, I'm like, maybe I should go back and listen to with this one. I'm like, no, I'm going to continue not listening to this. The placement here isn't it? Yeah, I miss Eric calling in too. I wish I had some context on how this ended up where it is. Number 5 is Now This Illmatic. Now this, this makes perfect sense. This makes sense. One of the more impactful lyrical rap albums ever. At the risk of sounding more weird than I already have, I'll say I've never been into this album like a lot of other people are. I know it's dope. I know it's great. I've always owned it. It ain't hard to tell. I think it's one of the best songs of all time. That Michael Jackson sample flip is crazy. Large Professor, shout out to him. The Pete Rock production is crazy. The Q-Tip production is crazy. Of course, Premier. My personal taste have always leaned more jazzy, whimsical in hip hop. So like this album, the lyrical content of it, the reality, the narrative reality of the album, it's a lot of cold shit, a lot of, street shit. So this is my thing. I never necessarily gravitated towards hip hop that sounded like the world outside my window, because that's what I was trying to get away from. So the music that was a reflection of that was always less interesting to me. I always wanted to hear people who were like painting a different world is what I always gravitated to more. And so whereas I mean, Nas is a fucking brilliant MC. Brilliant. Catboy, you stop being to whatever you are, okay? How about that? Just having a fucking conversation here. All right? And if you love it, keep loving it. Okay? I'm telling you about my experience, my life. And sure it is. So, Catboy, are you upset that I don't like the album the same way you do? Is that what's happening here? Because that seems like an interesting position to take. Again, I'll say this. I think Nas is one of the most brilliant rappers ever. We just played the verse from Verbal Intercourse. Like he's a technical wizard on the microphone. I just don't think I was in the audience. I don't think I'm in the audience for who this world building that he did, which was, it's Queensbridge. It was the projects. It was the homies. It's writing a rap letter to the homie in jail. Like that's ill. I love that. It just wasn't how I was trying to spend my time. And again, this album's full of classics. It was just never. I've never been as into it as a lot of people who I know are. Personally, Uchiwali's funny to me. We used to make fun of Uchiwali a lot when I was in college. That beat. There aren't too many beats in the world that make me laugh. The beat to Uchiwali makes like it's literally a humorous sound to me. But this album is a classic, and I think one of the biggest strengths of it is how fucking curated it is. Remember, if you contrast this with what was happening 2 to 3 years later with all those double albums and all of the fluff, like there's no fluff. There's like what 9 songs on here, 10 songs. Like they refined a fucking project to like the best and tightest elements. Friendly Times, thank you for the submarine. And I think it's a triumph in that sense too. And it's just like if it's a movie, I can see how it could be a lot of people's favorite movie. This wasn't my favorite movie. Supreme Clientele. Me and the boys from previous industries a few weeks ago in our standing studio session, we just put this album on. And like I was saying with Raekwon when we were talking about Cuban Linx, this album it's the gift that keeps on giving. Each one of these bars, there's just so much fucking wild, crazy imagery packed in these verses that, again, it's like much like RZA's production, a lot of Ghost bars shouldn't work. But this album is just full of an incredible level of writing. And that's from when he's just going off on a Mighty Healthy or One. Ghost is the cheesy face. Like, what? What is the? I don't know, but I love it. And then the stories he's telling on here too. And how you can see this is where I would contrast, right? Like, there's a street element to this too. But when you listen to Ghost, you hear his imagination at work. You hear characters in a story. Like you hear it sounds like somebody's directed a television show and they're showing you episodes of it in an album. Like the whimsy, and he wouldn't necessarily call it whimsy probably, but for like my metrics and my values, it's like, God, I get so much more out of a Supreme Clientele than I do at Illmatic, according to my personal taste. We never had baked Alaskan. Oh man. New Ghostface. One. Yeah, man. Oh. All right. Bow, 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 bow. Juvenile 400 Degrees. Heard it, but never on purpose. Huge again. Like, it's so funny how many of these albums, and this is probably a reflection of who the age of the writers who they've had writing this stuff, but so many of these albums are like 97, 98, 99. So in my life, they all represent a very specific time. And you know, Juvenile, I didn't get it when he came out. The first song I heard was I was like, what the fuck? Like I almost thought it was like a joke when it came out, because I just couldn't wrap my head around the writing approach in that song at first. I can appreciate it all a lot more now, but I can't ever say that I really sat and was like bumping this album a bunch. But Juvenile as an MC is somebody who I have a lot more of an appreciation for now than I did when I was young and stupid. But I can't, in terms of placement, I can't front on it because I don't have the familiarity with it to draw a conclusion either way. I mean, Rich Gang was just confusing because I've literally only heard of the impact of that project as one song. Juvenile's impact was much, much bigger. This was all around everywhere. And, this was the beginning of Cash Money, which is a whole fucking movement on its own. So, I mean, and I wasn't in the South, but I was in Southern Illinois. So this shit was everywhere. It wasn't in my Walkman, if that makes sense. Tupac, All Eyes on Me. Very interesting. I I was never a huge Tupac fan. What's the album with like Temptations and that stuff on it? I think it was the one right before this. Because this was the double album, so this was the huge one. Um, the song that I liked on this the most was what's the one with like Method Man and Red Man and Inspector Deck was supposed to be on it. I hated Machiavelli. I absolutely fucking hated Machiavelli. Um, yeah, Me Against the World is the one I liked. Me Against the World. Like a lot of like I think he was rocking with Easy Mo B on some of that production. I liked him over that style of production. I didn't like All Eyes on Me. The energy of it just wasn't my shit. Um, Absolutely huge. This was like if we're talking about hip hop culture wars, like this was a chapter, right? The Tupac versus Biggie, the East versus West. This was a chapter, and the South Side of Chicago, 1996 B-boys. We were an independent island in that war that hated both of those sides. We didn't like Bad Boy and we didn't like Death Row. And our high school that made, me and my homies some type of fucking pariahs. The people didn't know what the fuck to do with us because we was listening to MF Doom. We didn't have time for any of this shit. Like we could talk Wu-Tang with you. We wasn't trying to hear about fucking Tupac and Biggie. We didn't give a fuck. And whereas for a lot of stuff at that time that I wasn't rocking with, I have more of appreciation for now. I never really got into Tupac. I never liked the way he wrote or rode a beat, and it just felt too samey for me most of the time. And then by the time Machiavelli came out, it was just too fucking angry and weird. Like I never wanted to fucking like, okay, and I've said this a lot and I'm gonna repeat it now. For me, a lot of my relationship with rap music and what attracts me to a rapper is like the sense that I feel like when I'm listening to them that I'm in conversation with them. And it's like, I don't really want to sit and hear this dude hollering about, people he's mad at. Like it's not, that shit wasn't entertaining to me. And again, it just reminded me of too many fucking people I knew in real life that I was not trying to hang out with in my fucking free time. Personally. Though the impact again cannot be denied. But yeah, if you're looking at them as MCs, I think Biggie was a way better MC. Tupac might have been a better recording artist, and that is a distinction that I feel like it's fair to draw now. I can also see what Pac was doing. The emotional resonance that he was going for and hit. Like that's a difficult thing to do, to like rap with the sort of feeling where people fucking believe in you. Like that's not easy to do. And he was a master at it. But it just never appealed to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I never liked Hit 'Em Up. Hit 'Em Up was like, it was like worth a giggle the first couple times I heard it. Then it just sounded too fucking angry. Okay, rest in peace, Tupac. And then number one is Mobb. Number one. Wow. Mildly shocking, somewhat surprising that this is number one. Mobb Deep the Infamous, the best rap album of all time. So first of all, let me say rest in peace to Prodigy. Who wrote this one? Actually, in fact, I see people calling out Eric's name. Oh, Paul Thompson. Shout out to Paul. Paul's the same guy who wrote my review that got best new music for Neighborhood Gods Unlimited this very year here on the Pitchforks. First of all, rest in peace to Prodigy, who was an amazing rapper in ways that I am still honestly picking up on today. I happened to hear the song, is it QB's Finest or something the other day. I was just on YouTube and I clicked play on it. It was like one of them songs where it was like Marley Marl and Nas and Nori and Capone and Prodigy and Nature and like Cormega and all of these people on it. MC Shan was on it, and fucking Prodigy just killed this shit. Like Prodigy's, like I listen to a lot of rap music and sort of rate it, measure it, whatever, appreciate it based on my understanding of where most MCs are coming from when they're writing. And because usually I can tell what the aim was. I can tell what kind of patterns they were attempting to use, the sorts of things they were attempting to say, and where they were choosing to fit punchlines and bars and setups and all of the technical shit. Prodigy had a musicality to the way he laid his bars out, like that it was like, it's like sleight of hand. Like he would like misdirect you with a setup and just go completely in a different direction. I remember I do a thing called the Joko Cruise sometimes. It's the Jonathan Colton Cruise. And it's a great event if you ever get a chance to attend it. But every year on this cruise, they do a sort of musical tribute to artists that have passed away that year, and they have people cover songs. It was the year that Prodigy passed, so it had to be 2018, I think. No, there was Kanye. They had Yeezus on here. Shout out to Joko Cruise. Please do go and enjoy it. The year Prodigy passed, I was on the cruise and I did H&IC. So I had to learn those lyrics. And when I really sat with those lyrics and internalized them, like there's an unpredictability to how his brain worked in writing these bars, where like everything was perfectly in a pocket, but like rhythmically and where rhyme words go, it didn't even make any fucking sense, but it was like dazzling. So continue props forever to Prodigy. I still have a lot to learn from Prodigy, honestly, and rest in peace to him. That said, I would wonder if anyone else involved in this album, Havoc, Q-Tip, Steve Rifkin from Loud, if any of them would say that this is the best album of all time. I am very curious if they were asked what is the best album of all time, if they would say it's The Infamous. And I think there's some other albums on here for which the people involved with it might agree that project is the best album of all time, best rap album of all time. Drink Away the Pain is an amazing song, G.E.R. That's my favorite song on the album, is Drink Away the Pain. But in this one, I am not certain if the people involved with the project themselves that are still with us, once again, rest in peace to Prodigy, I'm not sure if they would say that this is the best rap album of all time. But that's what Pitchfork said. And we've reached the end of the list. Yes, Lexapro, you're right. This has certainly been a list. Certainly been a list. That was sort of entertaining to go through, though. And once again, it was Oops All Pitchfork. We'll get to the Mountain next week. We'll get to some more new releases next week. Shout out to Homeboy Sandman. We did get to bump the EP earlier. But that's where we're at. That's what we did. There's some notable omissions for sure. Notable omissions. I saw Alaska and Zilla Rocca drop the list of albums that were omitted, and I might go over that at some point too. And I also want to go over that 100 essential underground rap list that was in our Discord. Might even do that next week, because this is not a boring exercise going through these lists and thinking about these albums and thinking about the context that they exist in and my relationship to them, to be honest. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Morning Show. Like and subscribe, homie, friend. It's free. Stop playing.